Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dinks with Kinks. Before we get into tonight's episode, get on that social media. Follow us at Dinks with Kinks on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to see these wonderful faces every night live where you can interact with us, we do a live stream on twitch.tv/thedondero every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am your host, John Dondero. And with me tonight, as always, the very, milktastic. Oh, she is dressed to the nines. The lovely Rebecca.
Hello, everyone.
Give us a jingle.
I have Belle. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear the jingle. And a man who would look just as right in front of a flogging cross as he would on a farm, Mr. Shep.
Can you hear that jingle, jingle, jingle? I mean, good evening.
How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
I'm excited.
I'm dressed out like today. I was like, oh!
You are absolutely dressed out tonight for tonight's episode. I
am.
I wish people knew how far you went for an audio podcast, and I love it.
I wish they moved too. I mean, knew.
Well, I said I would, so I'm true to my word, and so here I am. And we have a live stream right after this, and I feel like people need to see a Moogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you're just listening to this, go watch the live stream from last night, and you'll be able to see the outfit that she is wearing. It is still available. It stays in VOD for like a month, 2 months.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be on there.
Well, if you guys haven't figured out what we're talking about tonight, we're talking about Hucows. That's a fun one that I...
You calling me a cow? What? Hucows?
No. Hucow. You're a cow.
Oh, Hucow.
Hucow.
Oh.
Is a playful word. A playful word between human and cow. And it actually grew in popularity, at least as far as like public knowledge. It became an internet meme. Very, very TikTok trend. And just like girls posing in cow costumes.
Oh, cow bikinis.
Cow bikinis.
Was that cow bikinis? Cow bikini, maybe?
Oh, nice. Very nice.
This was actually brought to our attention.
Was it Wagyu?
About 8 months. About 8 months by Supervan Calvino.
Yes. Thanks, Supervan Calvino.
He doesn't even listen to the podcast. He brought it to our parent company, Dondero Streams, and said, "You guys want to see something crazy? Check this out." And we clicked it. We loved it, and it became a running bit on our channel.
I think it started with me wearing my cow ear hat, because I was wearing my cow ear hat, and I was so happy about it. And they were like, "Hucow," and I was like, "What is a Hucow?" And there it is, and there it was, and it is now our thing.
Thank you, Calvino. You're an utter delight.
So how familiar are you... Oh, God, Shep. Are you proud of yourself? Are you real proud of yourself, Shep? Here we are. We're sitting in it. We're really sitting in it.
Yeah, we're sitting... Yeah, he tipped me over.
Oh, you're such a teacher.
You guys got milk?
It does the body good.
So how familiar are you with this actual fetish? I mean, we could sit here and pun all night long, trust me, and we probably will, but I want to get into the actual meat and explain what this kink is. How familiar are you guys with what this entails?
Other than what little I did, like after they brought up the Hucow thing, and I read online. I honestly, that's all I really know is very little. I don't have any first-hand experience. I know a little information.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Shep? Have you ever experienced this before?
No, we'll be milking this one for the first time tonight.
All right. Well, we're definitely gonna milk it tonight. All right.
You're gonna milk it for all it's worth.
We're
All
gonna milk
of
it for all it's worth. This fetish actually entails a lot to do with female lactation. Before it was playfully dubbed Hucows, it was very much considered a subdom type of torture play with forced lactation. Yeah, I had known this is a thing. I'd heard of this kink before. Never really looked into it because, like I said, we haven't covered it before, so there was no real reason for me to go snooping. But the more I look into this, it is very much a kind of a role play where it is human milking. Mm-hmm. And it involves role play, the transformation kink, bondage, and the use of what's the word I'm looking for? Contraptions, toys, tools, milking machines, as they were, and they do make them for humans.
Well, I have had children, and I have been. I did breastfeed them, and I did pump, and I have. When I was pumping and I was sitting there, I would sit there and pump, and then I would literally moo. I would literally go moo as I was pumping my breast milk, because that's what I felt like. I felt like a cow. And so, yeah, I guess that's my experience, except it wasn't sexual. It was to give life.
Yeah.
provides sustenance.
And like I said, I want to kind of differentiate from just lactation, like the lactation kit, because like I said, it's very involved in this, but a lot of this is not the actual act of it, but if this is like a container fetish, container kink, it houses all of those. Like, for it to be a Hucow kink, involves lactation, but also involves role play of pretending you are in fact an animal, or at least that you are being milked for a purpose by a farmer. And so this is kind of why I really like it, because I love, me, I love container fetishes or container kinks, where it's just like, if you take all of these kinks and you throw it in a box, this is what you get, and I love it. I love it. There are contraptions made. They are playfully referred to as milking tables. And a milking table is essentially, have you guys ever seen the massage chairs? Where there's a hole for your face, so you can lay your face into it. Okay, imagine there's two holes and it's slightly lower.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, but what if you're not big enough to hang through the hole? Like, some women are good lactators and they're not very large.
Well, the holes are made large enough for the lactation machines, the pumps, as it were. Because they make a variety of... there are breast pumps for the purpose of, breastfeeding and whatnot. These are a little more fetish related. Like, you can buy, actual fetish milkers. And they're pretty cool. I really suggest, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not, just go look up a fetish milker. Or a fetish
it's
pump
okay.
machine.
If you can't reach the pumps will reach you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's fun.
But the roleplay really comes into, we're going to take transformation out of this one, but the roleplay really comes into being farmer and animal, but not, necessarily transformed into an actual cow, but the roleplay of, you are a part of my property and I'm milking you for a good. And that's kind of where, ownership comes into. This is very heavy on, the ownership roleplay between a subdom, and that I'm using you for a product that I might sell or I might drink.
So humiliation? Degradation?
I don't think it necessarily means for humiliation. It could be, but I don't think this is, because like I said, it seems to me, all the stuff I've seen, it goes either or. a very loving, like, I love my pet, like just pet play. So it could be very nurturing. It can be very, supportive. Because, like I said, yeah, when we talk about ownership and discipline and whatnot, you do kind of want to accidentally stumble into humiliation, degradation, but this is not necessarily so, necessary. This is, you can, of course, put some CNC into this where you have to herd your animal in and tie them down against their will. Or you could do like willing milking. Like, I'm doing it for your benefit because you're hurting because you have produced too much milk. I'm doing this to nurture you, to take care of you. You are, in fact, taking care of me by providing something for me. So I like to look at this as more of honestly, a role play, like where it's not one thing or another. It is pure, simple role play. However you want to go with it works.
Yeah, just like the cousin of pony play.
It is, honestly, very much the cousin. And this is pet play, and I think we've covered some pet plays, and we haven't covered pet play, period, the generalization, but this is definitely falls under pet play. At least as far as
just a different type of pet. Just a different type of pet.
But
yeah, and in case you wanted to, I guess maybe gender release. I mean, there's still ways to milk a bull.
Well, this is the one information I do know.
Uh-oh.
I don't know a lot, but I do know this. That they use, like when a male is the Hucow, that the role play is not lactation. It's like using him as a stud, like the studding part of farming, and that's the milking part. The milking part is using it as a stud instead of lactation of milk. So that's the one thing I do know. And
actually, I was going to cover that. I was going to tell you. There's male milking tables, and it is essentially, same play, farmer, cow, but yeah, with the male genitals as the milking thing. And I actually have a fun story that I'm going to tell later in this podcast about the time I experienced this fetish in the wild without actually experiencing this fetish.
Was this the zoo type fetish? You experienced it, but you didn't get to pet it?
This was a story told upon me by someone else. So this is like a third party story. But no, I think honestly the big proponent of this fetish, you take lactation away, if you take the milking out, is relationship between cow and farmer. Whether it be a positive relationship or a negative relationship. But this is what really dings, because you can have a Hucow, but you need a farmer. So I want to kind of say this is farmer play. This is farm play. Not pet play, farm play.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moo.
Now, I haven't been able to find moo. I honestly have not been able to find a lot of like research behind where it comes from or what might trigger this. Because I like to go in and dig down, like, but why? Why do people have this fetish? And I think this might be one of those things are a media driven or not so much trauma, but as like you develop, you watch certain medias. And it could just be in your wiring, because there is something very primal, very instinctual about milk. Just plain and simple. Does the body good.
Well, I mean...
Got milk.
Could have been accidental. I mean, one day a guy could be like, "Darling, we're out of cream from my coffee." Oh.
I also think that it's a form of like role play, like you sort of almost like for example, like you're into lactation or you're into looking into those things, you're researching, you're like, oh, well, this sounds like a good role play, and you role play it and you get into it and then you stumble. It's almost like you stumble into it. Like you role play into it, and yeah, it could be in many and other things like the media and whatnot, but it's one of those, it's almost like, oh, well, like, because, you have to imagine the person being a cow and imagine the person being a farmer. So it's just like, oh, officer, how do I get out of this ticket? Like that type of thing. And then you stumble into, well, I really like that shit. And you're like, and now you're into Hucows. Like, that's how I feel like if I were going to like stumble into a fetish like this, that's how I would do it. I mean, like, let's try something fun. And now I own all of the cow things,
Or as simple as this is a fetish that literally came from the farming community.
No, I believe, as popular as this fetish is, I don't know that many farmers.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you a lot of these people, I want to say it's one of those perfect storm kinks.
Mm-hmm.
Where I am into this, and I am into this, and I am into this, and they all swirl together. Like it's just like three storms converging into like a superstorm of Hucow fetish. And I actually have a step-by-step process of how the play works, and I will really just cannot wait to like kind of step through, just because it's not just milking. There's a whole process to this.
Ooh.
And I found like a step-by-step how this is done, how it's treated, like the before care and the aftercare. Typically, when you're starting this fetish, there is a form of caging, either be an actual cage, a pen, as it were. Like you could do anything from like you would do with a little in a playpen or something like that, or like more of a bondage pen or something of that nature. And then they are released. They are come and gathered and herded. Then they are brought over to the milking table, either to be like Miss Rebecca said, degraded, or okay, it's time, like very nurtured. It's time. You need to get your pump on, and you are walked through the process. You are hooked up, and it's very ceremonious. Like that's kind of what I like. This kink is just like it's a step-by-step process of like I'm taking you from your pen. I'm leading you over. I am now hooking you up. And I think that's part of the fetish. It's not so much the act of doing it, just as much as it is setting it up, putting you in place. Because, sometimes with bondage, okay, tie me up. Okay, it takes a while to tie up, but I'm really turned on while I'm tied up. Like, after it's said and done. This, I think, that process, that setup is all about it. And then, after you have been lactated, or you have been, quote-unquote, milked for either milk or sticky milk, you are then removed and returned and fed. Like part of, this is one of those kinks where fed, like actual food.
There's snacks. There are snacks involved.
There are snacks.
Yeah.
This is one of those kinks where aftercare is just as part of the kink as anything. Like, because a lot of times with kinks and fetishes and all that, aftercare may be a very thorough, different, process. It's a separate process. It's we are done. Now it's aftercare. For this fetish, aftercare is absolutely a big part of this. Is maintaining your pet, maintaining your animal, brushing, reassuring, feeding. Like, you have done such a good job. I'm so proud of you. Here, you need to eat so you can replenish your strength. And I love that. This is one of those kinks. The whole ceremonies where aftercare is literally like, if you're not doing aftercare, you're not doing the kink.
And making sure to keep the teats moist.
So it's like
rub that lotion on there.
That's there. It is like a ceremony.
It really is.
It's the whole process. I'm loving it. Like I said, even though this is not necessarily my kink, I love the process of it. I love the ceremony of it. Like I can really get behind the whole process. And like I said, there are people who take it to extremes and live this life 24/7. This is one of those kinks where
that's just like any kink. But I mean, yes, this is one that is, you can't necessarily, if you're gonna live the lifestyle of this kink, then this is not one that you're gonna be loud and you're gonna be proud. This is not one that you're just like, oh, I'm a slave and like you look normal. No, like if you're a Hucow, you're gonna look like a Hucow.
Yeah. Sound like a Hucow.
And actually, the dressing up, like, you know, all the cool cow costumes, all that came much, much later. I think that's kind of like the meme version of the fetish, because from what I've seen, like actual processes of this, there is not a lot of cow outfits. Like, I think that has become kind of a way to, I wouldn't say pick fun at it, but like put a friendly sticker on this, because from the most of the videos I've seen, most of the role play, and I've actually got to see a couple of like photos from like sessions where this is, it is very much like fetish gear related. Leather, you know,
leather straps, kind
latex.
of isolating the chest if female and stuff like that, you know.
Bondage phenomenon. Actual cow outfits didn't really come to play until very recently, and
Thanks
they're
to
not
the
very
dickety talks?
representative of the actual fetish. So I kind of find that fascinating. That, you know, like I said, that's why I said the transformative properties of this, like dressing up like a cow and whatnot, that's not even really to deal with this fetish. It's becomes a running joke, but people with this actual fetish probably don't do that. You know, dress up like cows or anything like that. It's more the ceremony of it, not the outfit of it.
But I still look cute.
Oh, you do. You look adorable. Trust me. I love the cow look. I am all about it, but
Our guy advertising the cow's like, yes, my cow. That's some tasty grade A beef over there.
who's my cow? Who's my cow?
Who's my good Bessie? Good
Who's my
Bessie.
top sirloin?
Yes, I want to be prime rib. I want to be prime rib.
Do you know where the popularity came from? Like the current like push of its popularity actually came from Japanese anime and manga and hentai.
I was about to say, was it TikTok?
It was not TikTok. No, like, well,
Wow.
like I said, it has become very popular on TikTok, but the origin of its recent surge in popularity, or at least as far as in the public eye, is actually from anime and hentai mangas and stuff like that.
Well, that makes sense because anime and manga have taken a real like upswing in popularity even in the mainstream now. So it would make sense that a lot of these fetishes that are sort of, you know, based in anime or Japanese culture are sort of gaining popularity in a mainstream culture because of the rise of the popularity of anime, because now anime is actually a thing. It is a more of an acceptable thing, and so it makes sense.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool, and then when I read that article, and I was just like, no, it couldn't have been. This strikes me as something that like stemmed from more of like, you know, farmland and whatnot. I'm like, nope. Like Shep said earlier about like living, you know, growing up on the farm and stuff like that. A lot of people come into these fetishes from like, seeing an image on the internet on a message forum or going, oh my, I'm into it.
Oh boy.
Well, I would not think that a farmer would be really into this because it's their work. It's their
Yeah.
job. Like how, like, some people get to have the job that turns them on, but a lot of people don't. And especially if anybody has known farmers or known how hard they work from sun up to sundown, they don't want to go milking a cow for sexy time. They want to, like, I bet they're like, you know what? I want you to dress up in that French maid outfit. Like, they want to go exotic. Like, I feel like a cow would be the last thing that would turn them on.
Oh.
I want to take this episode of this podcast and go and just watch farmers be angry about it. Like the old farmer, like make him listen to this episode and just watch him as he becomes more and more cross. Like, just what kind of shit is this? What the fuck are y'all doing? I want to watch that process of them realizing that what they do every day for work is somebody's fetish.
Or, it could be the opposite. I've been milking things all day. Now it's my turn to get milked.
Absolutely.
Fair
I can
enough.
see that.
Uh-huh.
Now, I do have a question, because this did come up in what little information that I was able to scrounge up, is breeding kink. That breeding kink, not just the lactation kink, but the breeding kink, because that also sort of ties in with the male, because we were talking about male milk, getting studding and all that. I was like, the lactation thing, that I understood. That I was like, okay, moo cow, haha. But the breeding kink of it, how do you, in your extensive research, did you come across any information on that?
I did. I'm glad you actually brought that up. I am on that section right now in my notes.
Yay!
So
Look at us.
It's like you're looking at my notes.
I got you, boo boo.
Breeding, that is definitely a branch of this fetish, and it is done in several different ways. Everything from quote unquote putting someone out to stud, putting someone out to pasture, or through the play of artificial insemination.
Have you ever seen a cow artificially inseminated?
Inseminated. I can say that word. I'm proud of myself. I can say that word.
I mean, not with the turkey baster, right?
It is not with the turkey baster. I think a lot of what they do is not so much the actual process.
Okay.
What actually goes down to, but the act of, like, I'm going to take a toy and impregnate you with it. Or I'm going to, like, while you were strapped down, like, usually stockade, when we talked about, like, the bondage type where you put your head and arms in and you were kind of fixed. And then we're going to participate in a breeding ceremony where I'm going to mount you and breed you. Whether or not you actually become impregnated by this situation, a lot of it is for role play and usage. We do not condone having children for the sole purpose of sexual gratification. Have children for having children. Have unprotected, dirty, kinky sex for dirty, unprotected, kinky sex value. Birth control exists. Don't bring another life into it just because you're feeling horny.
Yes, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do it.
I
Bad.
mean, you can pretend to do that all day long.
Yes, pretend.
But
Pretend.
Just
like CNC.
CNC. It's all role play. But yeah, no, breeding is actually a very big part of this fetish, but I wouldn't say it's necessary in this fetish. It's one of those things it's compartmentalized. As like, I can attach this, I can attach everything from like the feeding, the forced feeding is also another part of this kink. Is like, we talked about the whole ceremonious of like afterwards you're taken care of and you're groomed, but if we're going to go talk more about like the against the will type, force feeding, because it's something they do own farms and all that. They've, quote unquote, again, this is role play, so we do not condone force feeding anyone, but you can play to your heart's content. But yeah, force feeding is actually another part of this fetish. So
I don't understand force feeding because I love to eat.
Yeah, me too. Well, I think that's it. It's just like, you definitely, yeah, for me, it would have to be role play. I'd have to pretend I don't want to eat that cheeseburger you're giving me. Because I really want to eat that cheeseburger.
What?
It's like, oh,
Eating
no,
the
not
cheese,
greasy
you
meat.
feeding the Hucow the cheeseburger? That's like pretend cannibalism. What?
We could be into it. We don't know.
That's true.
Don't you come at me
Cannibal
with your
grandma
judgments.
is.
No, I'm not king shaming.
I need to get you cow madness.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. It all lines up. Okay.
All right. First off, before I tell my very fun story, I want to see. Actually, I'll tell my fun story and then we're gonna do the woodges.
Okay.
All right. So I earlier last year I was on the dating market, going around hitting them dating apps, out exploring and whatnot, and I end up on a date with a lovely lady, and we go to a bar, and so we're communicating. I talk about being on a fetish podcast. She goes, I have a saying. How many steps to the milking table? And I'd made both of those faces. I looked around, leaned back, and said, go ahead and explain that one to me. And she tells me about a guy she knew who had this milking fetish. He wanted to be milked. He was a Hucow. And now he brought it up nearly immediately on the first date. This is how he opened the date. In fact, by the end of the date, he was, suggesting that they go to his vehicle and she milk him.
Oh.
Was not subtle about it, was not, now, like I said, I have no problem with this fetish. It did make me cringe about how just forward and unconsenting he was about his pressure. So she now says a saying is, how many steps to the milking table means how quickly are you going to make it weird? Because like I said, this is not a weird fetish. Yeah, no. This is not a weird fetish. It is absolutely perfectly fine. But probably not first date material unless it's going really, really well and you know about it beforehand.
Unless the Hucow, you met on a Hucow website. You just know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, if you met on FetLife or something like that and you have an understanding. But it's usually not like, hi, my name is John. I work on a podcast. Will you milk me?
Okay. I would do it for science, John. I would milk you for science.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I am just.
Oh, baby, how you move me.
You move me good. And the cow jumped over the moon, and I'm over the moon with this because now I want to know: would you guys do it, or would you run away with the spoon?
Oh. Okay. I would probably participate in it, yes. The ceremony thing would be a little hard for me to get past the whole ceremony thing because I'm bratty. I am not a good, but I would probably play a good farmer. So yes, I would participate in this kink if my partner wanted to. So yeah.
What about you, Mr. Shep? Would you be a farmer?
I don't know. I am a heavy spooner and forker sometimes, so I'm going to have to run away with the spoon on this one.
I understand. I think I would try it. I think I would try both sides. I'd be milked. You want to milk me? I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
We'll see. If it was
I would go very Robert De Niro on this.
But I feel like I wouldn't be doing it justice unless we went through the whole ceremony thing.
Yeah. I would try this. Like I said, I am not big on lactation, but I think I dig the ceremony of it. And I very much love the whole process of it and just how everything they do. So yeah, I'm 100% behind this one.
but we will probably cover lactation later. So I have opinions on lactation.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a whole different wheel.
That is a whole different wheel. So, but yeah, I would do that. I think it would be. I think this is one that I would be like, this one seems fun. This was one of those ones that seems fun. It would be fun. I think I would try it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that said, we should definitely break out the wheel.
The wheel.
And see what we're doing. Let's spin to see where it goes.
Round and round it goes.
You're not gonna believe it.
Oh, is it lactation? Is it lactation? Please tell me it's lactation.
It is not. Lactation is not on the wheel.
Okay.
So this is one that I wasn't aware was a fetish until like mainstream media kind of made fun of it, and then I was like, what? And then I actually know somebody with this fetish, and you're never gonna guess it. But I do want to change the subject and kind of refresh and clean it out, because sometimes accidents happen and we just pick the wrong thing on the wheel. So accidents happen and we have to change it and kind of refresh and put a new one on. Yeah.
We're diapers. Okay.
We're absolutely doing diapers.
So we went from lactation or like Hucows milk to diapers. I feel like there's a theme. And breeding. Okay. I feel like that's the theme we're going with right now. Okay.
Honestly, that's kind of what shocked me about this wheel is we start on one end and go to the next. That's why I was like stunned silence. I was like, I've got to make a pun for this. So that's right. Next week we are diapering it up.
Don't forget
this
the wipes.
We'll wipe it clean afterwards. But this one, there is so much involved in this fetish. Next week's episode is going to be a large one, because this is two separate kinks for two separate things in one. There's two ways we can go with this. That said, I do want to thank everyone
we're gonna do
listening.
a number two. We're gonna do a deuce.
We're gonna do a number two. Well, we're gonna do one, and then we're gonna do number two.
Oh, okay, all right.
Right now, we're gonna do a number three, and I'm gonna say thanks everyone for listening. I have been your host, John Dondero, and with me, as always, Farmer Shep.
Oh my! Until next time.
And the best head of the herd you will ever get. Rebecca.
Goodbye, everyone.
Good night.